U.S. President Donald Trump is still brushing off notions the U.S. is responsible for a deadly airstrike on a girls' school in Iran. That is despite reports of an internal military investigation that blames the United States.
Commander-in-Chief, do you take responsibility for that?
That is what?
As Commander-in-Chief, do you...
For what?
For the strike on the school in Iran. A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
Those findings are being reported by multiple media outlets, including Reuters and the New York Times. The investigation points to an American targeting error, the apparent result of some outdated intelligence. Iran says at least 175 people died in the strike on the first day of the war, and most of them were children. Chris Reyes is in New York with the latest. Chris, what are we learning?
Yeah. Well, Linda, first thing to say is there's not a lot of details to share beyond what you just talked about, and certainly not details that are direct from the source. And let's break down why that's the case. Because as you mentioned, these are preliminary findings of an ongoing investigation that's being conducted by the U.S. military. And these findings, Linda, so far have only been shared with numerous news outlets through unnamed officials. And according to those briefings from these reports, that strike on a girls' school in Minab in the southern part of Iran was likely hit by a U.S. Tomahawk missile. And it may have been the result of outdated intelligence about a nearby naval base, and that those coordinates were provided by U.S. Central Command, which runs U.S. military operations in the Middle East. Iran state officials have said that more than 170 people were killed, mostly school-aged girls, in the strike. Iran has held a mass funeral for these students. Again, those numbers very difficult to independently verify. But President Trump, when pressed about this report and these findings, has given different answers every time he's been asked. And you played that clip from yesterday afternoon where he says that he hasn't read the report, but he also said that he believes that Iran was responsible for the strike. He said that this weekend, that Tomahawks are possessed by other countries. Even Linda, as military experts have said, that's a misleading claim. CENTCOM has acknowledged using Tomahawk missiles in this conflict. Tomahawk missiles are a very distinctively American weapon made in the USA and very restrictively sold. Some U.S. allies have them, but not Israel or any other countries in the Middle East. So have a listen to how Trump has answered this question differently at different times.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation, but Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
So, Linda, officials have been more neutral in their response. Trump officials only saying that the matter is still under investigation and insisting that the U.S. does not target civilians.
Chris, so we heard there from the U.S. president over the last couple of weeks and the various responses from him. But what are we hearing from U.S. lawmakers at this point?
Well, this has been one of the more persistent questions in the brewing debate over this mission. Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, Linda, has called it asinine that Trump would make the claim that a Tomahawk missile would be possessed by Iran. Democrats in general have been calling for more accountability and transparency on this mission, which they have called a war of choice. Now, Republicans have mostly been on side with the president, backing his bid to destroy Iran's military capabilities. But last night, Republican John Kennedy did make a concession over this report.
We're investigating, but I'm not going to hide behind that. I think it was a terrible, terrible mistake. The investigation may prove me wrong. I hope so. The kids are still dead, but I think it was a horrible, horrible mistake. I wish it hadn't happened. I'm sorry it happened. Yeah, I can assure you it wasn't intentional. That's the sort of thing Russia does. We don't do that. But you know, I don't see any other possible explanation. And when you make a mistake, you ought to admit it.
So, Linda, looking ahead to the rest of the day, we can expect questions to persist on this report. There's no timeline when a report will be officially released. I did put in a request for more information to both CENTCOM and the Pentagon and got a very short response from a spokesperson stating only that this incident is under investigation and that it would be inappropriate to comment at this time.
Chris, thank you very much. That's Chris Reyes.